Ahimsa, and I'm broadcasting live from Toronto, Ontario. And today you're watching Jesse TV, streaming worldwide on Roku, Meta, NCG Television Network, and of course, jessiefm.com. Let me tell you, today's guest brings a truly sacred presence to our space. Joining us live today is J.S. Khalsa, who is a Custodian General and Chief of Protocol for Sikh Dharma in the Western Hemisphere. So he is a longtime spiritual leader, a teacher, and a guide. And he's dedicated his life to service, devotion, and the conscious elevation of humanity. So he's originally from St. Louis to Espanola in New Mexico, from ceremony to seva, and his path reflects a depth of Sikh tradition and the light of awakened living. And so today we're going to be diving into faith, ritual, energy, and remembrance. And I know this conversation is going to nourish your soul. Thank you so much, Hari, for joining us.
Blessings. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's just start off talking about Dharma and the Sikh path, okay? What does the word Dharma actually mean to you? And not just as a concept, but as a way of being.
Well, first, let me just describe the concept quickly.
Okay.
And the
there's
concept,
karma, and then there's Dharma.
That's the third thing. Listen. The formation of Dharma, of which there's 5 or 6, and there's really 6, but it hasn't been accredited yet in those that are accredited. And what it means is a way, a practice, a lifestyle that if done sincerely, depending upon your karma, but if you have good karma, can take you all the way to merging with God. And that experience is shown in 5 or 6 different ways. The Sikhs have a way a warrior way of doing it. Some have a different way of doing it. They all take you to the same place. They're just different streets, and that people have been fighting over since the beginning of the streets. And the practice of Dharma, and I'm going to give you my practice so that I don't misspeak myself for anybody else or anybody else's Dharma. But the practice of Dharma for me means that you're sincere about it. You're so sincere about it that you believe what God says when he says, I only need 2 things. I need your love and I need your service. And so in order to give him my service, I've had to commit my lifestyle to a lifestyle that the Dharma leads in service and love to God. And in this case, we have a guru in between, but we'll get into that later if you need. But the point is that Dharma means the sincere practice of a lifestyle, one of the 5 or 6, that can take you to merging with God. That's Dharma.
Okay. And if you're living right, your Dharma protects your karma.
That's correct. Well,
Yes.
That's absolutely true.
That's how I live my life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So how is Sikh Dharma different than simply religion? Is it a practice, a path, a lifestyle, or something deeper?
It's actually a lifestyle.
Okay.
And it differs from other lifestyles because of some cultural things that have been included over the millennia that it's had time to form itself. Some of which are good, some of which aren't. Sometimes they get mixed up in the religion like it does in a lot of religions, and you wind up practicing things that are not good for you. And the essence is, but if the essence is still there, it doesn't matter. You can get elevated because of that. So the way you practice it makes a difference. And for me, it means getting up every morning at 3 o'clock, doing my meditation, my yoga, my prayers, and then I have breakfast. And at 6:30, I go to Gurdwara, which is our temple. And I'm there from 6:30 to 7:15, whatever it is, when we do our morning Sikh prayers and chanting and singing. And then I come home and do my day. Now, my day has varied since I was working guy to since I'm a retired guy. But my life is devoted to not to having God give me the strength to not listen to myself. That's my life.
To get out of your own head.
I want to listen to what God has to say and what He wants me to do. I don't want to get in the way and spoil it.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you do prayer. What is your like prayer practice, and is that different than meditation? Would you have any?
No, we have many meditations that we choose from. I have one sequence that I've been doing for quite a while. All you need to do is one, or you can do a new one every day. But I like to master one, and the meditation is when you go outside, when inside. It's when God talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
Prayer is going outside when you talk to God.
Yes, I agree.
So it's a time to pray, and there's a sequence to that as well. Our lifestyle dictates how we should live. And the first thing we should do is to pray for this Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing we should do is to pray for others. And if you got any time left, and if you're so unwise to think that God doesn't know your prayers already, you can pray for yourself as well.
Beautiful. So in a world that often views Dharma as duty or obligation, how can we reframe it as an act of devotion and alignment with divine truth?
Well, you're asking a lot.
I know I am.
You're asking to change people's karma.
Okay.
That's a big deal. That's a lifetime work.
It is a
and
lifetime work.
You can't get frustrated or time consumed in between.
Devotion.
Pardon?
It's a lifetime of devotion.
That's correct.
But what I said is that it's mindset too, right?
That's right. I totally agree. But not everybody has a devotional mind, because in order to have a true devotional mind, you have to be outside of yourself. You can't be, you have to be thinking about what God wants and not what you want. That's devotion. Yes. Otherwise, you're devoted to yourself still.
Yes, and most people are trapped in the ego.
Well, man, most people are most people. That's why we practice something that's different.
Yes.
We don't want to be like that.
No, we don't. Do you have any specific type of meditation that you do?
Yeah. Yes, we have many specific types, but I do one that's we've been doing for 50 plus years, 60 years. And I still do it today, and it's called the sautan nama meditation.
Oh, I know
that's.
I did a Vipassana as well, which isn't my preferred form of meditation, but it's really where you learn to listen.
That's right. That's a big one for both for me. That's for sure. I see you have the same issue.
Yeah, it's just the 10 days, but we did that whole 3 a.m. wake up call, and it wasn't my introduction to meditation, but it's definitely not like an intro.
It is an introduction. You said it right. That's what it is. It's an introduction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It catches you right in between when you're unconscious to when you're conscious, and that's meditation.
Yes. Yeah, it was really good for strengthening your practice, because before that I wasn't able to like just sit, you know, for like
Uh-huh.
extended lengths of times, and that was
Right.
one of my best benefits out of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we actually talked about something just before, which wasn't something I was planning on asking you, but it's intriguing because I'm just currently finishing up. I'm probably around 75 hours into my water fast, and we were
Yeah.
talking a little bit about fasting, and you mentioned that you did a 90-day fast. So
Yeah.
I'm just inspired. What inspired you to do a 90-day fast, and what was the spiritual calling or moment to surrender to something like this?
I've been in our organization for a few years, and I had started driving our teacher, and uh, I became his companion every day to driving him around. And when you become a vegetarian like I did right before I joined, you gain weight. I did because the meat that you ate and everything. It takes a while to digest, and you feel like you're hungry a lot. So you eat a lot of cheese and things like that. So I did that take a while and keep you satisfied, and that puts on weight. So I had gained 20 pounds or so, 20, 30 pounds. And I got a call one morning. Honey Dewan? I said, yes, sir. I knew who it was, my teacher. He said, sorry to tell you, but I want you to go on a fast. I said, I said, sure, sir. What? How do you want me to do it? I want you to eat nothing but celery every day. I said, well, can I eat it cooked or raw? He said, your choice. And I said, okay. And we hung up. And I saw him again when I drove him that afternoon, and nothing was ever said. And I started to eat only celery. And I was losing a pound a day or more, because it takes more energy to digest celery than it puts into your body.
Yeah, it's a negative calorie.
And it also, I asked him, I said, why am I doing this, sir? And he said, because you're my son, and time is going to be upon you. It's going to be upon everybody. There's going to be a time when this world goes nuts. And there's going to be a time when people look to us. And we have to be our best when that happens. So I want you to get back into your discipline. I want you to lose weight. And especially, I want you to strengthen your nervous system for the times that are going to fall upon you. And so I knew what he meant. And that celery does work on your nervous system. And that's all it's got to work on, because there's nothing in between to deflect it, like your mind, or just your mind in this case. And so I went on that fast, and I did it religiously for 70, 75 days. And then he took pity on me. And after class, 2, 3 times a week, he'd take me out to eat. And I think he did that so that I would work my way back in gradually, because he knew I like to eat. Who doesn't? But anyway, so that's how I got into this fast. And I can tell you that I haven't been on another one since. I think I've mastered fasting, but I can't think of anything that I could have done at that time that would have changed me as dramatically and quickly as that fast did.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Did you experience any heightened spiritual awareness or have any visions during the fast? And how did it deepen your relationship to the divine?
The relationship that I had, you see, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was so lightheaded, I'd go to sleep at 7 o'clock at night, and so when you're lightheaded like that, you do have those visions and premonitions, and You know something. If you're a guy like me, you want to get rid of them. Maybe you're going crazy or something, but they stick so long, you know they're real. And so that fast did that to me. Funny you should pick. Well, it's not funny you should pick up on it, but you picked right up on it.
I told you I'm intuitive, and I'm fasting too, so it's the fast speaking through me.
You know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah.
It purifies you. It purifies you. You know, it doesn't teach you anything.
Yeah.
But it purifies you so that you can learn what you've already got inside of you.
Yeah.
And that's really like a better learning.
Yeah, I like, this is also what we were saying, like it's like cleanliness is next to godliness, so it's like you're clearing your vessel. But I do feel that when you clear your vessel, it's so that you can be, there's less interference and you can be a more clear channel for source. That's what I believe.
I think you're right.
Okay, well, high five. Okay. So
that's why we do yoga. You know, if you cleanse your body through your yoga, it cleanses your mind, it cleanses everything about you. And you know, you can cleanse yourself all different ways. You can cleanse it with the fast. You can cleanse it. There's all sorts of ways.
Body, mind,
hydrotherapy you talk about, that has its values. And, you know, they all do. All these practices do one or two or three or 10 things, you know.
Yeah, I give a lot of these as like guidance in my Feed Your Chakras book series. Water would obviously be like hydrotherapy, but it also connects to the root because it's cleaning your vessel, which is your home. Yeah. Okay, so for those who approach fasting as a restriction, like a lot of people are like, they think it's like so hard, you know what I mean? How do we inspire them to think of it more as not of a restriction, but as like a purification, as you said, or like a sacred remembrance?
Well, I've always found that really the best and maybe the only way to teach somebody is by example. Mm-hmm. And you can talk to them till you're blue in the face to 99% of them, and they may give you lip service, but they ain't going to change. That 1% is worth talking to. Don't get me wrong, you know, that nobody else is talking to them. But the chance of changing anything in your life, even if you want it, is 1 in 20. Mm-hmm. Only 5% of the population has, and I know this from a study Harvard did back in the 1970s. Only 1 in 20 Americans has the capacity to do what's necessary to change their life in a way that they want to change it. Shocking statistic, and on one hand, and shocking on the other as well, you know.
Yeah, it's true. So on that note, do you think that your experience doing this fasting and facing those really like challenging moments I'm sure you had where you're just eating celery nonstop, did that change something physically for you as well?
Yeah, I lost 50 pounds. I was tired all the time.
Okay.
I didn't like celery going in, so I would go down to, I was living in LA at the time, and I would go down to the vegetable market, and it opens up at 5 in the morning. I'm already up. And I would buy celery by the case and peel it down to the heart, which is sweet, and I could taste it, and I liked it. Mm-hmm. And I'd wind up for the last part of the fast learning how to eat celery with just the hearts. And so that changed me, and physically, and also the fact that that my nervous system was starting to get stronger, and that I could actually feel it getting stronger. I was aware of it. I'd never been aware of anything in my body as it changed like that and had a physical, psychological effect. And I did with that experience.
Yeah. I noticed when I was fasting in Panama, mainly just because I was working so much on my book and it was so hot. But I noticed that like I was eating so clean too, like no sugars or anything, but I had no cravings, because I had completely restored my gut flora. And I'm sure that's probably one of the things that you experienced too, which is...
As a matter of fact, even the celery hearts began to wear on me. And for a while, you know, I wouldn't eat anything some days, you know. Why bother? Why bother? Why bother to tax myself digesting it?
I would have got creative. Actually, celery, it's actually really flavorful when you cook it. It's like it has a nice smell.
Yeah, it has a refreshing smell.
Yeah, you gotta get creative, you know, when you're doing nothing but celery for 90 days. Yeah. Okay, we'll go back to Sikh Dharma now. So it emphasizes equality, service, devotion, and remembrance of the divine. How do these pillars help someone move from being in that state of ego to more soul consciousness?
First of all, you see whether what they're doing is working for them, because if it's working for them, they're not just interested in changing. Mm-hmm. So right away you can have more effect if you realize some people are not happy with life. That means that they're willing to listen and wanting to change. And so by being able to use your intuition to determine that, makes you much more effective. That's what I would suggest to you. Cut your market down.
Okay. So I know that you chant Nam, and this is considered a core spiritual practice. How does that supposed to change us from the inside out?
That's a heavy question. I'm not going to go all the way back because that'll take too much time. But I'm coming back to the beginning of creation. And creation was created by light. Mm-hmm. And light transmuted itself into vibration in order to be able to create the visible world that we see here. So right between the female Prakriti, the goddess of this universe, of the physical world, and the manifestation of the physical universe, is in between that vehicle that allows that to happen. And that vehicle, when it hears the vibration that you're projecting, vibrates the same way back to you. Mm-hmm. That's why your life is an endless circle, because the universe is a mirror.
It's a reflection, everything, even the people.
It's a mirror.
Yeah.
So when you reflect back bad thoughts and bad talk and bad this and bad that, that's what you get back from that vibration. Or if you talk elevated thoughts, devotional talks, service to God talks, that vibration also comes back to you. And that's how it changes you to become what it is.
Yes, I completely agree. And unfortunately, most people aren't conscious of what they're actually.
That's also a blessing, because without them, there's no high without low. There's no left without right. Yes, we need them for our own survival. So I understand the relationship.
I mean, I get that in some essence, like, you know, there's that law of duality, but at the same time,
law of polarity, not duality.
Polarity. Okay. Yeah. But I feel like we can consciously raise our vibration and our level of consciousness together. It doesn't always have to be, you know.
Well, that's why we chant in the morning together.
Okay, well,
that's why we do that.
Not everybody's doing that.
we call it group consciousness, and it's very important. It's very important.
It is, and actually, the Maharishi effect is when you have the collective who are doing something in the same vibration. It exponentially expands the impact of that, and it's actually measurable.
You're a smart girl, woman. Sorry. I'm 82 years old. I'm okay. I'm allowed to call you a girl.
You can call me a girl. Okay, I am a girl. Okay, so Another question, just out of curiosity. So somebody who is not born into Sikh culture or heritage, what if they want to walk this path authentically? Like what matters more, their longing and their devotion or their lineage?
I was born Jewish.
Oh, okay.
And it was a big shock to my culture and environment and friends and family when I became a Sikh. And I did it because it offered what Judaism had not given me. I had given not enough. You never do, but I saw the beauty in it, but I also saw the limitations in it. For instance, if you're really an Orthodox Jew, not the kind that we meet now, but you're inflexible. There are 612 laws plus the 10 Commandments in the second book of the Bible, Leviticus. And a Jew in the old days was judged by not his money, but how he was perceived to follow those rules. And those rules, some of them are good and some of them are ridiculous. But there's so many good ones that if you follow them, they overcome everything, and you can elevate yourself through that process. But there was some that bothered me so much that my great 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 great, I think I got it right, grandfather was the Bolsham Tov. He was the founder of the Hasidic Jewish movement. You know how they wear the payas, the sideburns, and all black, and that's where I come from, and that's my family. That's my mishpocha, we call it. I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy I'm still a Jew, because when you're born a Jew, they say you're always a Jew, and I cling to it like gold because I have no problem with it. And the reason I don't have any problem with it is I found what Judaism didn't give me. Maybe it gives others. I think it does. It never gave me the flexibility to understand all paths.
Beautifully said. Okay, so for somebody, since you've walked this path, who's spiritually curious but unfamiliar with...
Oh, by the way, I still, I love Judaism. It's all there. It's just like all religions, gets a little sidetracked from time to time.
Yes, I agree. So what would be a good starting point for somebody to begin experiencing this truth like you had?
Kundalini Yoga.
Oh, I love Kundalini. It's like
Kundalini Yoga will give you the boldness to explore deeper. It'll give you the energy to enjoy that process. And that's what you're talking about, rather than it being a discipline, it's being an enjoyable duty. And that's what Kundalini Yoga will do for your spiritual growth. And where you put it makes a difference, but it's a unbelievable head start.
Yeah. It's so funny, you know, yoga is actually how, I'm not that I'm a singer, but I'm trying, as I started singing more to activate my throat chakra, but I did it through like kirtan and kriya and just mantras and stuff. And we always sang in my Kundalini class at the beginning and at the end. I thought that was really cool. And it's kind of like a workout for your organs, because you're like...
That's right. It is.
It's so good though.
Now, listen, I'm 82. I'm still upright.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you explain the difference between being Sikh by birth and Sikh by soul, since you are...
There's no difference except for the cultural differences.
Okay. That's a fair assessment. Okay. So Sikh Dharma literally translates to the path of the student. How has being a lifelong student, or for as long as you have, of the divine shaped your humility, your service, and your strength?
Well, first of all, by your example, because that means the most. And secondly, I write, others speak, others talk, others do other things. I write articles every so often that are distributed not only to our community, but through Facebook to the world as well. And that that deals with the issues that people are having. That and you know, if you talk to somebody who's who you can describe as to how some people are unhappy with that way of living, and they can identify with that, identify with it. You know, you want to talk about guilt, you got half the people right off the bat, you see. There are a bunch of things, and that's how you start to communicate with people. You know your audience, you know what you know what you're looking for, and you design your program so that it satisfies their issue, and that's also and not, it's not self-serving. It's serving more people, because you'll attract more people with honey than you will with vinegar. And in this case, honey happens to be a downer, but that's honey to them. It will be if it's changed.
Yeah. Okay, so do you believe that each of us is born with a sacred contract or dharmic blueprint? And if so, can we hear about what you think that might be?
God is in charge of all. He does everything. You may think it's your will. You may think you're a smart gal. You may think that this, and you may think like that. Fact is, your thinking is all his made up, based on your karma and his drama called this universe. And in order to change that, your question, give me again. I forgot the last part of it.
I just wanted to see, like, can't really remember what it was. It was something about being having a sacred contract or dharmic blueprint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sacred. It's not secret.
Mm-hmm.
That is that our contract is, we have the opportunity to devote our service and love to our Guru, our God. And we're taking advantage of that beyond the best of our ability.
Mm-hmm.
And we pray that God recognizes our sincerity and our extra effort, and allows us into his kingdom, because we've demonstrated what he wants out of us. That's how we deal with that situation. So that we believe that everything that happens to us is under the guidance and protection of God. And even if we don't see it at the immediate moment, if we can hold that belief over time, or immediately and over time, we become that belief, and that belief is God. That's what we believe.
Okay. So then why do you think that the soul chooses to incarnate into pain and karma and into forgetting?
It's the only entertainment God has. What do you want? What do you want from him?
He's just sitting there with
You
his
want him to sit in bliss forever and have nobody to share it with? Why?
Okay. Okay, so what role does suffering play in the awakening process from a Sikh Dharma lens?
Everybody thinks happiness is being giddy or smiling all the time, or you can plug in what you want. That's part of it, but there's also suffering and the pain of others and grief. This is also a part of of happiness, because it becomes the test of your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when you overcome,
testing ground.
exactly. You put yourself at risk to be the testing grounds, really.
Yeah.
But I look at it as an opportunity, because very few people have that chance.
Yeah.
So
and it's actually, like, everybody says, it's not when, like, you're on the yoga mat or doing all these spiritual things. It's when you're faced with the real conflict and the real trauma, and how you stay true to your virtues and your integrity. That is the true spiritual test.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you put yourself at that risk, and if you feel comfortable with it, then God has the impetus to take a look to see whether he feels comfortable with it. And
Yes.
nobody gets into heaven by their work or their devotion. They only get in by what we call good prasad, God's blessing. He's the one that makes
Prasad.
the
I
choice.
like prasad. I want to create a point system called prasad points through food.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a whole
great.
other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, we'll stay on topic this time. Have you ever had a dark night of the soul?
Soulmate?
No, a dark night of the soul. It's kind of like where you're like faced with like your shadows. And
you know,
the dark truths that we all try to avoid, but then
yeah,
by avoiding them, we stay
we
stuck
all
in the karmic
have.
loops. Yeah,
We all have. I have to tell you, in the perspective of others that I've counseled, I've heard, I've experienced, I thought mine were terrible, but relatively they were real simple. You know, I didn't get a new baseball mitt when I was 12 years old. You know, that kind of. You know,
that was your dark night of the soul.
I was spoiled. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for you. You have to. I had to overcome it, but it makes it comfortable for you.
Okay. What does Wahguru mean to you? Not as a word, but as a lived reality.
Well, Wahguru is that vibration that vibrates exactly back beyond Prakriti, beyond the God of the universe that she created to create this world. And that Wahguru vibration is the vibration of God himself.
Mm-hmm. That's actually what I really like about Sanskrit, is that it's a language based on vibrations.
That's right.
And so it's very important to say the words correctly. Do you know my last name? Do you know Ahimsa?
Ahimsa, it means non-harmful.
Yeah, non-violence.
Yeah.
So that's my adopted name because that's what I stand for.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's a fabulous concept, you know. Fabulous. Yes. And as a warrior, I subscribe to it wholeheartedly. I don't think ahimsa means that you can't protect yourself. I think it does mean that you don't want to have to protect yourself.
Exactly. And the greatest weapons are love and compassion, because it's disarming.
Well, love is God.
Yes.
You know, that's the vibration of God, is love.
Yes.
And the way God expresses his love for this world is through compassion. So if you want to follow God's will, the first lesson is to be compassionate. And if you find a structure that's not compassionate, it's best to look around some more.
Mm-hmm. So that leads me to a touchy subject.
Okay.
So I wanted to touch on the 1984 Sikh genocide and collective healing. So I don't know like who's watching this, but it's actually a pretty unreported event and very unrecognized as a human rights atrocity, and it was huge. So how is this like, I know that it probably didn't impact you directly because you weren't living there in the time, but how has this history impacted the global Sikh consciousness and like the collective?
Well, just to correct you, it did affect me personally because every day I'm spending time with the Sri Singh Sahib, Yogi Bhajan, my teacher. And he's intimate.
It wasn't physically there, but yes, I imagine that it did. Sorry.
He's involved in it from the ground up. So, you know, there are groups that are being formed that want to leave India, and there are other groups that are doing this, and then there are Hindus murdering, and then there are Sikhs, all sorts of chaos. And he came from government service. And he didn't think the emotion of wanting to leave India was best for the Punjab, even though the Sikhs wanted their independence and their ability to do as they say, not be subject to New Delhi, the government of India. And some of their reasons were right, you know, the raw water rights to this and that, no question. But the fact that they're under the umbrella of India is real important too, not only from a physical viewpoint, but from a psychological one, because it keeps them involved with everybody, both the Hindus and the Muslims in India, and the communication open because it's necessary. And so that didn't cause a separation between these groups of people. So he was in favor of that, and I understood that. I subscribed to that myself. But there was a lot of opposition to that. Some of it even very violent, blowing up airplanes with 200 people on board, crashing them into the North Sea outside. It was nasty and dirty and ugly and chaotic. And I was mostly held out of it. I'm just an American, a beginning of my journey, and I knew nothing about much of the culture or anything, so I'm kind of protected from it. But I saw it right firsthand, and it really hit the Sikhs hard, because the Sikhs are born on defending themselves and the righteousness of others, the right for them to exist. And they saw they couldn't defend themselves. They were massacred. And that's because they were divided, because these groups, some of them were with the government, some of them were against it, some of them were ambivalent. So without that unity, they were defeated easily. And that took a big psychological toll on the psyche of the Sikh nation, where they've always been the defender of Hindus. In the Punjab, the first son marries a Hindu wife. The second son marries a Hindu wife to protect their family, the Hindu family. And the third one goes to be a Gyani or a priest or whatever it is. But that's the tradition in the Punjab, so that it was the Sikhs that were the protectors of the Hindus in the Punjab. Mm-hmm. That image was blown apart in a very short time. Took a big hit on their psyche. And it created some people that wanted to make up for it, so they became terrorists. Some people that didn't want to see it, so they became complicit. All the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And it's starting to come together a little bit more now, it's taken 30 years to do. Still not there. But it'll happen. This has happened to the Sikhs before. So that's the process. I don't know if that's what you were looking for.
No, that's great. I was just the question is how do you reconcile faith and humanity or divine justice in the face of such violence?
Well, it's really difficult, but that's the ultimate test. You have to always remember that everything that happens is God's will. That everybody is you. That everybody is a part of God. That inside of their heart, deep within a cave, colored in deep crimson, is the soul of each person, which is...
Yeah, I'm wearing crimson.
Good for you. Yes. Which is the byway and the highway that God has to enter your body.
Yes. Well, the Sikh response is often to serve and to chant and to elevate. So how do you think that response shaped the soul of the Sikh community after these atrocities that happened?
Well, I think it's such a difficult concept that it was intellectualized, it was excused, it was misunderstood, not understood, and then some people adopted and adapted it. So it ran the gamut of expressions, and because Sikhs aren't the warriors they used to be, most of them wound up being not aware of that option.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a question, just because there's a lot of people that believe in God and they commit horrible crimes in the name of God and all that stuff. What is the difference to you in between believing in God and communing with God?
Well, you can believe, first of all, let's say trusting or having faith in God. Now, faith in God is the practice of wanting to believe in God. And believing in God is the practice of wanting to communicate with God.
Mm-hmm.
And communication with God is the practice of wanting to merge into God. So you're talking about the venue between trusting in God, not faith, but belief in God, and having the communication with God, and that is best done by mantra, and best shown to be real by devotion and service.
Mm-hmm.
Comes down to the same thing.
Bhakti. Okay, so you kind of answered this, but in a little different way. Like for me, I experience the divine in many ways, shapes and forms. I was explaining, sometimes I hear things, sometimes I feel things, sometimes it's like I know things, you know, it's like clairaudience, sentience. For you, how do you personally experience the divine? Is it a voice, a presence, just a stillness, all of these things?
Well, we spiritual guys don't like to talk about it because it's like bragging about being special, and that's not how we look at it. So, as to avoid any misunderstanding, we usually don't talk about our experiences. But let me just say this to you. Words like bliss or ecstasy or protection or guidance or love are not just concepts, they're realities, they're experiences. They're experiences.
In the present, which is the only time.
And the more you experience them, the more you become those experiences. So they become your memory, and they make you more and more that memory. And when it's guided in that direction, the experience is infinite. You can never describe it, although you can take what you got at the time. But it's way beyond whatever you've got right now. So why bother to be wrong about it?
Yeah. What you're actually describing is a scientific
phenomenon.
Yeah. It's called neuroplasticity, and it's actually the reprogramming of the brain through repetition and retraining those neural connections. And so the benefits of yoga is actually positive neuroplasticity, because you're constantly reinforcing these positive thoughts, practicing self-love, it's devotion. That's one of my favorite aspects about yoga.
Where'd you learn all this stuff?
I'm just passionately curious, and I'm a forever student.
Good for you. Good
yeah.
for you.
I don't think that there's I think that quantum physics, spirituality, science is all the same thing, you know. Art, I'm very creative. I've always been very attuned, and I also used to not talk about my gifts because I thought it was taboo, and I was like, oh, who am I to have this, you know, no one's gonna believe it. But the more that I'm on this path, the more I attract other people who are, you know, on this, and it's become a lot more normal to me. And in fact, everybody has the capacity to have these gifts. We're born with it. It's like our God-given birthright. But so many people haven't done the work, and they're so almost kind of polluted, I guess, or you know, they've consumed so much stuff that they have to purify and unlearn all of that to really become that pure channel. So the more work you do and learning to let go of all that stuff that's not really yours to hang on to, the more you're able to receive.
You know, you're funny you say that, because more and more I'm having the impression that that you should share your gifts, and some will be inspired by them, and others will be turned off by them. But that's the group you're talking to wouldn't be inspired without you sharing them. The turned off ones wouldn't be inspired no matter what you did. So it's better to share them and get and be able to help those that you can see you can help than nobody.
Yes. There's a quote by Plato, And it's like the meaning of life is to find your gifts, and the purpose of life is to give it away.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Plato,
And as
Plato
what
was
you
a
said,
smart guy.
those that reject it, it's actually just a projection. Like you said, it's a reflection. It's because they see something in you that they're not really ready to face or be open up to, because they're hiding it within themselves. So never doubt the power of planting little seeds.
Yeah.
Positivity. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna ask one last question because we're running out of time.
Sure.
So many, I could just keep going. I feel like we're having a really great talk here. How can someone return to the feeling of divine connection when they're feeling lost or numb or disillusioned or heartbroken? Like, that's the time when it's the hardest, but the most important, because that's when the process of transformation can happen.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer because there's no one answer for everybody. For some people, it'd just be called Gyan Yoga, the mind beating out the mind, not allowing yourself to hear the negative mantra and only force yourself to hear the positive mantra and surround yourself with positive mantras, whether it's in music or it's environment or whatever it is. That's a way. Another way is to chant mantras that can help you in that process. Another way is to do some yoga that can help you in that process. Another way is to do transactional analysis, which forces you to look at yourself, otherwise you can't. Another way is to go to confession at the Catholic Church, because it does the same thing. So there's a lot of different ways. Some may be better than others, but one is always best for each individual. That's the thing, not one is best for all.
Okay, one more question. I lied. Okay, so bhakti, like devotion and love, do you think that love is the highest form of spiritual practice, or is there something even deeper still?
Love is the spiritual practice. Love is God. God is love.
Yes.
So if you think he's anything but that because you see chaos around you, you've missed the point. The point is God is love. Don't let your doubt get in the way of your elevation. I'm all for flexibility, as I told you, that you need to be flexible in the world to not only survive, but to get along. There's only one place that flexibility is not allowed, and it's not allowed, and that is on a spiritual path. Once you find it, you believe you must practice it until you believe it until you can communicate it until you become it. And that process will give you what you need. It's not about you doing anything but following the directions written on the box. You don't have to go looking all over the universe for it. There's a bunch of good lifestyles that can lead you to where you want to go. And don't think you can find it. And don't. What changed my whole life was when I started to explore spirituality. I had one prayer, and that was that I find God's will, not my interpretation of God's will. I find the truth, not a truth. And that subtle difference in my prayer has made the whole difference in my life, because it focuses on one thing, not on a bunch of things. And that's how you change things, like you do with yoga, one-pointedness. That's how you create all these miracles with one-pointedness. So if you practice one-pointedness about who you want to be, that's how you change.
Cool. That's a very good answer. I have a little quote. When you were saying that, this little quote came to mind. I just want to know what your thoughts are on it. It says, if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that is
100%. 100%. See, there's truths all over. There's truths all over. I agree with all of those things.
Yes.
They're truth. Truth transcends the process.
It is. All right. So thank you so much Hare J.S. Khalsa for sharing your depth.
Huddy.
Sorry.
You wanted to get it right, so I'm teaching.
I did. For your divine perspective with us, and your words are a transmission and a reminder of what it means to walk this earth with humility, discipline, and soul. And to everyone watching, may this conversation awaken something in you. I hope that it inspired you, perhaps a question, a stirring, or maybe a remembering. And whether it's through stillness, service, or sacred nourishment, may you take a one step closer to your truth today. And
let me just say, may I say just one more thing real quickly?
Of course.
The process that I talked about, the commitment that I've taken, that's for me. Yours may not be the same. So you don't have to look like me. You don't have to act like me. Maybe you have to think like me or some facsimile of it. But you don't have to. Life is a process, so don't get freaked out by the fact that you can't participate because you're not doing what the ultimate would be. Don't think like that. Knock that thought out, and I think you'll be way ahead.
We're all like little individual pieces of the collective puzzle of consciousness.
I don't want anybody to feel badly because they don't think they're on the real path. You can be on the real path anywhere. Your karma depends.
Path is their own.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Beautiful. Anything else you'd like to say to our viewers?
Well, it was a pleasure meeting or talking to you all. Maybe we'll see each other again. So
yes,
God
I would
so
love
will.
that. It was a really great interview. Thank you so much. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for joining us. This has been Jessie TV, broadcasting live from Toronto and streaming out to the world. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay in the light.
Blessings.
Blessings.